Hello again, so it's round 3 of the Smashoff judging, and today I'm doing 3 beers, so it's the last day of the Easter holidays. I thought I'd get a little bit more drinking done before I have to go to work. Hopefully I'll be able to get to work tomorrow after drinking these and maybe the other beers that I've had today. But anyway, today we're looking at 0110, which is a First Gold and Marisotta Smash. We are looking at 0103, which is another Golden Promise beer and also First Gold Smash. And the third one is Marisotta and Ernest hops. So there wasn't any other beers really for me to pair that one with, so I thought that putting it with the First Gold ones would probably be the closest in terms of similar style of beer and similar kind of hops and so on. So those are the 3 beers. Let's get them into the glass and see what we've got. Okay, so 0110, First Gold hops, Marisotta, Nottingham. It's dry hopped as well, 35 IBUs, 5% ABV. Now, First Gold hops are a bit more of a traditional English hop than the other 2 that I've been reviewing so far, and used a lot in bitters and ESBs and that sort of thing. It's been a long time since I've actually used them in a beer myself, but from what I remember, I got quite a sort of orange marmalade-y type flavour off of them. Quite a nice hop. So I'm thinking this one is bottle conditioned. Yep, there's definitely some sediment in the bottom there. So first impressions, quite hazy. If it's been heavily dry hopped, that's to be expected, but not too dark a colour on that one, so yeah, a kind of light golden sort of straw colour. It is pretty opaque in terms of the clarity. Decent amount of head on there though, looks like it's quite well carbonated. Yeah, I'll get onto the aromas in a bit, but initially that smells quite nice. Then we have the other First Gold beer, so this is 0103. Golden Promise this time. First Gold hops again. This one's using Edinburgh ale yeast, 33 IBUs, 4.4% ABV, also dry hopped, but keg conditioned this one. So it was brewed on the 26th of the 2nd, so it's had a good amount of time, and just looking at the bottle it looks like it's quite clear, so it's obviously had some time in the keg to clear up, I think. So I was a little bit more aggressive chucking that in there because, as I said, it looked like it was fairly clear. And yeah, there's some nice clarity on that. Pretty clear, not totally crystal clear, but it's getting there. Again, pretty well carbonated. Decent head on there at the moment. Not quite as much head as on the previous one, but nice colour. First impressions on that one, pretty good appearance-wise. Then we have 0104, which is Marisotta Ernest hops, Sapphire SO4, 31.8 IBUs, 5.1% ABV. Also keg conditioned, but from the looks of the date on this, a bit later on than the other one. So this was 10th of March. Decent hiss and carbonation on that. Does look pretty clear in the bottle. Don't know a lot about Ernest hops. I did have a quick read about them, and it appears that they're quite an old variety, but one that's maybe wasn't received particularly well when they first brought them out, because it was quite funny actually. It said that people perceived it to have quite a brash American hop flavour, so I think it probably arrived a few decades too early, this one. Could have been one of the newer varieties maybe, if that is in fact the flavour profile that comes from it. So slight haze on that one, nice colour to it. Again, light golden, sort of straw colour, decent amount of head. Okay, so let's go with 0110 first of all. quite a malty aroma. There is a bit of hop there, but not massively, you know, hitting you in the face. Wouldn't really expect that with a kind of traditional English hop variety anyway. Yeah, just a hint of fruitiness there, but nothing too crazy. Quite pleasant though. The other First Gold one, a little bit more hop on the nose actually with this one. Yeah, that smells like a nice English bitter. Nice balance of that kind of hop, green hop sort of aroma, and the malt. And then the third one, the Ernest hops. That one smells quite a bit sweeter. So that was Maris Otter. Yeah, there's a little bit more of a kind of sweet, fruity aroma on that. Difficult to pick out exactly what that smell is, but they're all smelling pretty good. So taste time 0110. Okay, yeah, so good, nice level of bitterness there. So it's got a good good kind of hoppy flavour to it. Just tastes like a nice sort of pale bitter to me. Yeah, again, 35 IBUs at 5% I think is, you know, right in the sweet spot for me for the balance of the bitterness and ABV. So you know, if you get it right, that's kind of is going to get you a decent tasting beer, I think, as long as you hit your numbers. So there's a little bit of a kind of soft, fruity taste there. Maybe a little bit of stone fruit, but I do get a slight orange rind flavour on that as well. Quite subtle though. So as I said, this is more of a traditional English hop, so it's not like, you know, in your face kind of fruitiness as you would get with New World hops or some of the newer English varieties. Yeah, decent beer that. No obvious faults to me anyway. Pretty clean. Good hop presence on it for me. Not bad at all. So 0103. Oh, and yeah, head retention wise, that's hanging around nicely. Good lacing on it and so on. So this one is the other First Gold, this time with Golden Promise and Edinburgh Ale yeast, slightly lower ABV and IBUs. Little bit of head still there, but not hanging around quite as well as on the first one. Well, yeah, quite a different overall flavour profile there though, so there's a lot more of the malt sweetness coming through on this one. Golden Promise does, I think I said this in one of the previous videos, does tend to present as a slightly sweeter malt flavour for me anyway, but I think maybe using the Edinburgh Ale yeast as well, which I believe is quite a sort of malt forward kind of yeast as well, has really helped to bring out that malty flavour in this one. So the bitterness is still there, but I think it definitely comes across as a slightly sweeter, more malty ale on the taste. And I do get, I think because of that sweetness, I get a little bit more of that sort of marmalade orange type flavour from this one than I did from the first one, which is the sort of flavour profile that I associate with First Gold hops. Yeah, that's nice, I like that. Yeah, nice appearance, just a slight haze on it, lovely colour. There is some head retention there. Excuse me. Good level of carbonation. No off flavours, nice and clean. Pretty good so far. Let's see if we can get 3 nice drinkable beers in this round. So this is the Ernest Maris Otter Sapphire SO4, 31.8, 5.1 ABV. Now obviously this is a different hop to the other two, so I would expect it to be tasting quite different anyway. There is an interesting flavour coming through from that. Again, it's a little bit sweeter than the first one. So the malt sweetness is coming through a little bit more. There's some interesting kind of floral sort of sweet floral notes coming through from the hop. But again, decent level of bitterness at the end. Yeah, just quite an interesting flavour from that. So it's not quite as I expected. I thought that would be, again, more of a kind of traditional sort of English style hop, but just struggling to kind of pick out some flavours from this one. Another good beer, so pretty clean, nice malt sweetness to it, decent level of bitterness. Yeah, can't really complain about that at all. Quite difficult to pick these three apart, but I will yeah, do some more tasting, have a little think about it, and then come back with some final thoughts for these. Okay, so final thoughts from me. 0103 for me out of the three beers was the winner, really. So I think the main reason probably for that, to be honest, is the yeast really setting it apart there. So I think the Edinburgh ale yeast really just brought a little bit more depth of flavour to it in terms of that kind of rich malty taste and sweetness that also gave it maybe a slightly richer mouthfeel and so on as well. You know, nothing against dried yeast. You can make brilliant beers with both Nottingham and SO4, which are in the other two. But I think in this case, just the use of a specialist kind of liquid yeast maybe set apart three very similar beers. So yeah, they were all good, all pretty clean, decent balance of flavour and so on, pretty well brewed, I think, all of them. But for me, 0103 just had the edge in terms of the flavour. I think it was the best looking beer out of the three as well, so appearance wise it won it for me too. Yeah, as I said, that flavour and sweetness just gave it a slightly more rich and kind of luscious sort of mouthfeel too. So that for me was the winner. So with the other two, the Nottingham and First Gold beer, yeah, appearance just slightly a little bit too hazy there, really, for me. I mean, it didn't, haze isn't necessarily an issue for me, but it didn't really have the kind of hop flavour or presence that would justify that level of haziness on it for me. And again, I think Nottingham yeast is really good for turning around, you know, quite clean beers quite quickly, but for me it's not necessarily the best yeast for showcasing, you know, the other flavours from the beer. So, you know, malt and hop flavours can be a little bit muted with that yeast for me personally, and I think probably in a smash beer where you've got, you know, a very straightforward recipe, it's not necessarily the yeast that I would go for as my first choice anyway. Yeah, and I think that maybe just made it a little bit less you know, exciting flavour wise than it could have been for me anyway. Like I said, other than that though, it was you know, perfectly decent beer, good flavour, good balance, and of bitterness and malt. So yeah, no real issues with it at all. It was just maybe didn't quite reach the levels of the other beers there. 0104, really interesting hop flavour from that one. So like I said, I haven't had Ernest hops before. There are some, you know, quite fruity, almost New World type flavours from that hop. Yeah, I found it quite difficult to pick them apart. There's some sort of spicy notes there, a little bit of that kind of traditional English herbal hedgerow type flavour to it, but also maybe some stone fruit and other stuff going on. I think I did read the description after drinking the beer, and it says stuff about, you know, like apricot and things like that. Don't know if I got apricot as such, but I would definitely say there was some of that kind of soft fruit flavour in there. But yeah, an interesting hop, that one. I might have to get some of that and try it out myself. Appearance wise, very very close to the 0103, but maybe just not quite as good in terms of sort of head retention and slightly less clarity on that one. Flavour was decent, good mouthfeel, but again for me, maybe just the yeast there could have, if you'd used something else, maybe that could have been a little bit more interesting. So SO4, again, it's a great go-to sort of English ale yeast, but it's maybe didn't quite, you know, bring that beer up to the level that the Edinburgh Ale use did for 0103, in my opinion. So all good beers, well brewed. Thank you very much for sending them out. 0103 out of those three is the winner for me. Very close actually to the other beer out of the ones I've tasted so far that I thought was my favourite so far. So yeah, good level of competition so far. Cheers.
I'm the dude. So that's what you call me, you know? That or his dudeness or Duder or, you know, El Duderino.